Sonic X Shadow Generations releases in a couple months, and as a diehard Sonic fan, I'm taking it upon myself to talk about it. Hello everybody, my name is JebDeb, and this is a video where I'm going to be talking about Sonic X Shadow Generations, which is a game you really want to put the generations in, otherwise you're going to be in for a world of weird. So, the first thing to note, this game releases October 25th of this year, and if you get the Digital Deluxe Edition pre-order, you can actually play the game 3 days early. And as far as pre-order prices go, this is the normal price we're all used to, right? The $60 for the regular game, $59.99, $70 for the Digital Deluxe, like games should be. But that's beside the point. So, what do you get if you pre-order the game? Well, if you physically pre-order the game, you receive a notebook from Gerald Robotnik that's supposed to describe, the creation of Shadow and the Ark. So if you're a real Sonic lore fanatic, that's probably up your alley. If you just pre-order the game in any capacity, you will receive the Legacy Sonic skin, which is supposed to be a skin that's derivative of his look from Sonic Adventure. It doesn't say Sonic Adventure 2, which makes me think he's not going to have the soap shoes, but it's going to be like a sort of polygonal model upscaled to look like Sonic from Sonic Adventure? Or is it just going to be like Sonic from Sonic Adventure with his Lightspeed ring and whatever? And if you pre-ordered the Digital Deluxe Edition of the game, you will receive the base game, the Season Pass, which is interesting because this makes me wonder if this game is going to get post-launch DLC. One of those additional contents, though, you get is an additional level and skin for Shadow, which will be releasing this holiday. Now, I say that because it's interesting, because ultimately, Sonic X Shadow Generations is Sonic Generations with some extra content. So this is Sonic Generations Final Mix. So you get the remastered Sonic Generations, along with whatever the new content Shadow's story offers. And no, I have not seen a single fucking trailer or bit of gameplay, and I'm going to keep it that way up until I get the game. I mean, I already have the game pre-ordered, you know what I mean. So you get an additional level and skin for Shadow that'll release this holiday. It doesn't tell me what it is, it just tells me when it's releasing. You will also receive the Terios skin. Now, for all those wondering who Terios is, Terios is this guy right here. And you may be wondering, what significance does Terios serve to the Sonic world? Long story short, in the development cycle of Sonic Adventure 2, Shadow was supposed to be a one-off character. Shadow was supposed to be a character that never appeared again, which is why he got killed off at the end of Sonic Adventure 2. And he was originally supposed to look like Terios, but they ended up changing it for the Shadow design that we know, and Shadow became such a beloved character that he became a series mainstay. So, long story short there. You also will be receiving an extra background music pack, which I'm going to assume Sonic can listen to while in white space. Once again, doesn't tell me what's in it. I'm going to guess, though, it's probably going to have a lot of music from Superstars, Frontiers, maybe some extra tracks from Forces and Mania, considering Sonic Generations came out, I believe, around the time, Colors had released or something? Now, as far as I'm aware, they're not adding any new levels to the Sonic side of the story, which is kind of a bummer, because there's been a lot of Sonic games that have come out since Generations released, right? There's Lost World, there's Forces, there's Mania, there's Superstars, there's Frontiers, there's Origins, even though Origins is just a remaster of the original 3 games. You could go into some of the other games, you could go into Black Knight, Secret Rings. There's been a lot of Sonic games that have released since Generations came out, and it looks like we're not going to be getting any of those levels. Anyway, the next thing you get is the digital art book and soundtrack, much like most games. It's cool, I guess, to have an actual soundtrack and an art book. And you will also be receiving skill points, which I do not remember being in the original Sonic generations. So there's going to be some sort of new skill point system. And I'm not exactly sure what it could mean by that. Like, is Sonic going to have some stuff locked behind skill points now? Because I know how the skill points work in Sonic Frontiers, and I'm wondering if they're going to try to implement that system into Sonic X Shadow Generations. And they did expand the actual Sonic part of Sonic Generations, which is a plus for me. Sonic Generations, despite the game being kind of in hindsight, is one of my favorite Sonic games of all time. It's the first proper Sonic game I played, and it's the first Sonic game I watched when I was a kid, right? So I have very high nostalgic value for Sonic Generations. So the fact that they might be adding more onto the game, even if it's just something as stupid as a skill point mechanic, is fine by me. So let's talk about what you're actually getting in the game. So, obviously, the description here is Shadow the Hedgehog is back with classic and modern Sonic and Sonic X Shadow Generations, an all-new collection featuring 2 unique experiences. And this is an interesting title, because it says here, play as Shadow in a brand new campaign featuring never-before-seen abilities that prove why he's known as the ultimate life form. Speed through iconic stages from Shadow's history, discover hidden secrets in an expansive hub world, and unlock new powers to take on Black Doom and save the world. So, the interesting thing to note is it appears they're going to be basing a lot of the Shadow part of Sonic X Shadow Generations off of his game, Shadow the Hedgehog, which I never played, and I'm not necessarily sure that would be the best idea, considering people are very heavily split on whether Shadow the Hedgehog was a good game or a bad game. Most people say it's a bad game because the game was trying to appeal to the American audience at the time, which it worked in that regard. It actually sold really well in that regard, but people don't really consider it to have been such a good game. And then you also get the remaster of the main game. So let me go ahead and explain. So obviously we get, in this new standalone campaign, Shadow's nemesis Black Doom has reemerged and threatens to take over the world once again. Shadow must journey into his past, confront his painful memories, and unlock new dark powers to save the world. And then we obviously get harness Shadow's new Doom powers to battle hordes of enemies and tackle platforming challenges like never before. Surf on water, fly over obstacles, and stop time with the return of chaos controls. So not only are we going to be seeing some unique chaos-based elements here from Shadow's gameplay, but we also are going to be seeing new stuff for Shadow altogether. Now, I don't know how this is going to work. I don't know if it's a button you can just press and it'll activate, or if it'll be like a situational thing, you know? I'm not exactly sure. And here's an interesting thing as well. Relive signature levels from Shadow's previous adventures and accelerate through mind-bending stages in both 3D and 2D warped by Black Doom's influence as Shadow works to piece together the timeline and thwart his evil plans. Stretch your legs in an all-new hub world. This is the interesting part, inspired by the open zone gameplay of Sonic Frontiers. As Shadow gains new powers, he can explore further and uncover the secrets hidden throughout. Which makes me think about, you know, like, so it's very clear that they're going to stick with this open zone design philosophy, right? Which I'm fine with. Now, as much as I love Sonic Frontiers, I do have a couple gripes with the open zone design. One of it being the haphazardly placed rails and shit just all over the place, right? Now, it makes me think that they could probably get away with it this time, considering Black Doom's fucking with reality or whatever, so they could probably get away with something similar to it, but judging by how the open zone was built in Sonic Frontiers, I hope it's not just a bunch of haphazard rails and platforms just randomly strewn about throughout the map, you know. As much as I love Sonic Frontiers, that is kind of a weird thing, to just be running through this beautiful field and then suddenly just have some random obstacle course floating, you know. I get it, it probably could be tied into canon, but it's kind of weird for it to just be there. Another thing to note is that they have added in more stuff to do. So, I'm not sure what exactly they added, because it says here, you can now rescue Chow hiding in every level. So they brought Chow back, and you can collect the secret Chow in every level for extra, you know, content. Rack up the highest pinball score in the Casino Nights Zone. Check out the museum for behind-the-scenes art, music, and more. Which makes me think that, obviously, Sonic Generations didn't have much in the post-game department, really, or any replayability, unless you were a YouTuber in, like, 2012 using mods to keep the game relevant. Because the interesting thing to note there is Sonic Generations was a relatively short game. You could literally blast through, like, the entirety of Generations within a day. And it sounds like with this new bonus content, we're actually going to be getting more stuff to do. I'm not sure how much of it is actually going to be worth doing, but the fact of the matter is it's new content to do, and I'm all for it. And once again, I don't know what new content is being added. I don't know if there's going to be, you know, like, actual new stuff for the Sonic side of things. I highly doubt it, outside of skins and extra unlockables. I highly doubt there's going to be anything new, like new levels, which is, once again, kind of disheartening a little bit. I feel like it would have been cool to see some Frontiers levels, some Forces levels, and some Mania levels, you know. But ultimately, though, I'm still hyped for Sonic X Shadow Generations because I pre-ordered the Digital Deluxe Edition, so I will be playing it 3 days early. And I'm mostly concerned about how the Shadow part is going to go down. Because you have the open zone gameplay for the hub, but you have the typical platformer style for when you actually get to the levels, which makes me think that this is why Shadow wasn't included in Frontiers. That's my assumption anyway, right? Maybe it could tie into Sonic Frontiers and Shadow was busy doing stuff during Sonic, which is why Shadow is the one that has to save the world, not Sonic. I also don't know how long the Shadow part of the game is going to be. I don't even know how much I could get out of it. But what I do know is that hopefully they actually decide to stick with the game and release some content, you know, release some post-game content that isn't just some unique outfits, which is probably going to be the case looking at how Sonic Frontiers DLC was. Because I believe if they really stick to it and they actually make good updates, like some of the stuff Sonic Frontiers got with, you know, the birthday bash, the photo mode, the arcade, not the arcade, the jukebox, and then obviously the addition of Final Horizons, it could be a very interesting Sonic game and, you know, prove to be quite the fun game. Although, ultimately, though, it's still Sonic Generations, just final mixed. Now, obviously, this whole video here isn't going to be judging on whether I think you should get it or not. That's for when I actually finish the game and I can give my review about the game. But I just wanted to talk about what you will be getting if you decide to pre-order Sonic X Shadow Generations, what the game actually contains, what the game says it's offering, and what might actually end up happening. So I'm actually really stoked about this as well, and the fact that it looks like we may be fixing Shadow's character, because for the longest time, ever since Shadow's game came out, which is why so many people consider the Shadow game to be bad, is because it completely fucked up his character, right? It killed any good thing his character had and just turned him into some edgy, brooding, Slipknot, Warped Tour looking teenager ass, you know? Like, that was the sort of character that Shadow ended up becoming because of his game. Whereas if you play the games before that, Shadow's actually way more of an interesting character. And it sounds like through this game that we may slowly be going back on those original routes as opposed to the Shadow that was established after his game. And it's also cool to see Black Doom return. I can't even imagine the last time you would see Black Doom in a Sonic game. Now, I wonder, too, if there's going to be anything else. Like, I highly doubt it, but there could be some references to the Sonic comics where you could see, like, Eclipse the Darkling. Once again, highly doubt it. Don't expect it. Would be cool to see, though. Another thing, too, is it says his various adventures, which makes me believe that they might do something with Episode Shadow from Sonic Forces, right? They might do something, so we might be able to get a look at Infinite again, once again. Don't count on it. I haven't seen any gameplay trailers. I haven't seen any website announcements. I haven't seen any leaks, and I'm keeping it that way. But as far as I'm aware, it's mostly going to be consistent with probably his Adventure 2 levels and his main game levels. That's my assumption, anyway, for what Shadow's part of Sonic X Shadow Generations could be. So, that's the video. I just wanted to get something, you know, one of these basic videos recorded again. I wanted to really get back into this flow of content as opposed to just consistent live streaming and YouTube shorts. And I figured, why not talk about the next Sonic game and the last Sonic game the last gen users will ever be able to play. So, thank you all for watching. If you're interested in seeing more, subscribe, hit the notification bell to get notified whenever I upload. It's free. You can change your mind later on whenever you want. And I'll see you all in the next one. Bye-bye.